We all know that once E3 2021 was over, there was one very apparent message from Xbox. They'll have multiple big games coming out every single year, especially with Bethesda becoming a part of the Xbox platform. So when we hear about a massive Xbox game leak, you better believe it's going to be a big one. And that's exactly what's happened with Redfall. Let's get into what was leaked and what type of game this really is, because it is pretty surprising what we're about to see. Let's get into this. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, make sure to hit that small little bell icon. It helps out the channel a lot. Okay, so let's get straight into this because there's a lot of information to go off of here. Redfall was one of the biggest games shown at the Xbox E3 event back in June. It's actually the game that closed out that show. Usually, publishers save their biggest reveals for the end of the show, and that's exactly what Redfall did. It closed out the entire E3 show and also had a release date of summer 2022. Now, a lot of people watched the cinematic trailer and thought, hey, this looks pretty cool. I was one of those people. I thought the premise of the game looked extremely promising. And to be honest, I figured it was going to be something like Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead, you know, a 4-player co-op game with a certain amount of levels and campaign mechanics. I figured it would be a linear-esque game that had you fighting cool vampires with awesome abilities in this small little hub world that, you know, Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead did before. And boy oh boy was I wrong along with everyone else. This game apparently is far, far bigger than most people realize. In fact, if these leaks are true, which is looking like they are, Redfall might just be one of the biggest games coming out next year, and it's not even close. Here's what the leaks say and what they describe the game to be. Game is described as an open world game in line with something between Borderlands and Breath of the Wild. A core story taking you across the world, but also a myriad of side arcs, missions, and fights. Gameplay style / loop is very similar to Borderlands, seamless open world compared to the likes of Breath of the Wild and Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, let's just stop right there because man oh man, that sounds like a massive game. The first thing I want to point out is that they call this an open world game. That's completely different to what I was expecting this game to be. Like I said, I was expecting some awesome hub worlds or some big campaign maps similar to Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood. Yet instead we're getting a massive open world like Borderlands that will have multiple enemies and probably big set pieces hidden throughout the world as you progress the story. But that's not the best part about this for me. The best part is that it won't be linear like some other games that we've seen. This will have massive replay value because you can attack any situation differently because there's so much variety in the characters. This is going to be a seamless open world that's comparable to Ghost of Tsushima or Borderlands or, like they said, Breath of the Wild. Huge open world games. That's a massive statement because all of those games that were mentioned are adored. Not to mention, the open world aspects are what draws people to those games, minus Borderlands, which is the open world, the co-op, and of course, the loot. This open world hub that allows you to do what you want and how you want to do it, Redfall is going to provide that to you, but with your friends. Throw in the side arcs, missions, and fights, and you truly have a huge open world game. Which fits one report that came out a few months ago, stating that this game has been in development for 5 years. Apparently, this game started development in 2017, the concept was being worked on, and several years later, it was brought into full production with the full team at Arcane Austin working on it. Games like this take multiple years to make, and I'm glad Bethesda, and now Xbox, had given the studio the time they needed to make it. But let's get back into the leak and see what else the game has in store for us. Can be played solo or co-op, 6 playable characters to choose from. Each character has a unique hero ability. One character had a bird that acted as a sort of drone, and the other could cloak for added stealth. Another character had something similar to a shadow hop or other short-range teleport move, blink ability in Dishonored. Game can be tackled in stealth or guns blazing, get XP from killing enemies and doing missions. There's side missions. There are boss fights in the game similar to bosses of Borderlands. Okay, let's stop right there because the one thing I believe Xbox does the best is they make amazing co-op games. They're the best publisher doing this and truthfully one of the only ones doing this. And yet again, Redfall is going to be just that, but with way more depth. The 6 different characters and the abilities talked about in this leak shows how big this game is going to be. I don't know about everyone here, but usually with games like this, or games like Destiny, Borderlands, Diablo, and any RPG with different classes, so to speak, I always play all those characters to find out which one I'll enjoy the most. And that's exactly what this game is going to bring for me. I'm going to be able to jump from characters, check out their different abilities, and just have a great time. So to hear there's a lot of different abilities tied to these characters, I can't wait to dive into that. And again, the leak details one very important thing. This game is going to be open. You won't be forced to take on any situation in a certain way or a scripted way. You can go stealth or you can go guns blazing. It's all up to you. That's one aspect of Ubisoft and other open world games I absolutely love. I get to decide how I want to play the game and how I want to tackle every situation. So I'm very excited about this part of the game because I think it's going to make the game that much more fun when you play with your friends. Oh, and not to mention the boss fights and the aspect I'm excited to see. Because in the CGI trailer we got at E3, you can see that they'll have very different types of vampires across the world. From that one vampire with the red hair that's grabbing people, to the multiple armed vampire that blocked out the sun's light, everything about this is looking like a huge game with so many different enemies. Which brings us to the world and scope of this looter shooter. Here's what's said. The size of the map is similar in scope to Fallout 76 or Ghost of Tsushima. Mix of traditional weapons like rifles and handguns, and also more unique stuff like a stake launcher. Enemies are a dynamic mix of ranged, melee, vampire, and human. There are NPCs, but not AI partners replacing human co-op in Left 4 Dead. Closer Borderlands or Assassin's Creed NPCs. So let me get this straight. This game world has the potential to be as big as Fallout 76's world. I know that game launched terrible, but it still had this massive open world where you can do whatever you want in it. If Redfall can get that big of a world into their game, this Redfall game could turn out to be one of the biggest games in 2022, and truthfully, one of the biggest games we've had in multiple years. I mean, think about it. Borderlands 3 is amazing and has a massive open world to explore. If Redfall can do this with vampires everywhere in different biomes, this could be one of the biggest games we've seen. Throw in the different types of enemies and looter shooter aspect of this game, and you truly have an RPG on another level. There's screenshots of people collecting guns with stats on them and different rarity types. There's also different types of guns in general, as the leak says. So you can have so many different playing styles just from one playthrough. There's also the enemy types, which was very apparent in the CGI trailer we saw. There was grunt vampires jumping all over the place, trying to get in close to you. There was flying vampires with different abilities, teleporting, jumping around, not to mention the redheaded one that was grabbing characters across rooftops. Oh, and there's also the human enemy types that probably serve these vampires and are pretty loyal, so you'll get some pretty cool gunfights in the game also. The funny thing about the CGI trailer we got is that it made the combat look very dynamic and hectic. You had people fighting on rooftops, others on the street, enemies getting launched across one building to another building, all of this in real time fighting multiple enemies. Throw in the abilities these characters showed and you can easily see this game is going to be massive. Oh, and the leak also mentioned you can play this game in first person mode or third person. I believe the game is going to be first person because if it's Borderlands-esque, then that's exactly what it should be. Not to mention, I think it was mentioned to be first person shooter after E3, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if that third person rumor is going around. But if you ask me, this Redfall game just launched to the top of my list as one of the most hyped games around. The Xbox Series X and the Xbox games in general might just have one of their biggest games to come out in several years. And to be honest, when this game closed out the E3 show a few months ago, people wondered why this game closed out the show and not Halo or something bigger. Well, now we know why, because this game might be one of the biggest games coming out, and it might show just why Game Pass and the Xbox console is going to be in massive demand, especially next year and going into the holiday season of 2022. Games like Borderlands and new IPs that hit big are some of the hardest things to do in gaming, because word of mouth, reviews, not to mention just plain fun, are what people talk about the most when a new game comes out. And from the looks of these leaks, this game is going to be one of Xbox's biggest new IPs they're banking on. And this is exactly what Xbox needs the most. New games that people love. Not to mention, it fits right in their wheelhouse, which is co-op games that people get to enjoy with their friends, or what I like to call my type of game. But enough of what I think about this Redfall leak. Tell me what you think. Do these leaks get you excited for the game? Is Redfall shaping up to be one of the biggest games in 2022? Are you surprised by the scope of the game? Did you think it was a Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead type of game? Does the Borderlands comparison get you excited? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. So right now, I've been playing a bunch of Alien Fireteam, Diablo, you name it, I've been playing it. I also played Artful Escape, that musician game where you're kind of playing with a guitar going around the world. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Now, was it the best game out there? Nah. Honestly, I've had a lot of fun with other indie games, but I did beat the game in one sitting. It was pretty cool, but man, there was a lot of story, a lot of talking, and I enjoyed the boss fights and the visuals. But outside of that, I've been really enjoying Alien Fireteam more than anything. Trust me, it's so much fun with friends. I don't like playing it alone, but with friends, it's a really good time. But let me know what you're playing. Are you playing something on your PS5, your Xbox Series X, or are you on your PC? Let me know down below, because that's what we're here for, is to talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.